Congressman Byron Donalds, maybe he has an idea of what Nancy Pelosi's talking about. I don't know. Good morning. How are you?
I mean, don't ask me. She never makes sense anyway. I don't know.
Come on, that's funny,
man.
Yeah, but at the same time,
it was pretty funny.
Does she really? That is funny, but really, does she really want us? So the suggestion is, I guess it's just talking points, right? You spend so many years in politics, you start blabbing out talking points, and you don't even realize what you're saying, like kitchen table issues. Like, does she really want us to talk about kitchen table issues? Joe Biden compared to Donald Trump. Does she really want to go there? Of course, she doesn't necessarily, but. Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of support right now behind the former president. That's for sure.
Oh, no, there's massive support behind President Trump. I mean, but look, here's the deal. She understands something that Republicans got to really figure out, is that most people in our country are not paying attention to the dynamics of these kitchen table issues. They see the inflation, they see the high energy prices and all that stuff. They see the craziness at the border. But what they don't put pen to paper on is who did it, what's the cause, and how do you fix it? And that's, I think, where in our party as Republicans, we lose sight of the full game is how do you explain that? How do you distill that? How do you message that? How do you get that in front of the voters? You got to get the information to them. What Nancy Pelosi is doing is she's just saying, yeah, Joe Biden's the one that's making this all possible for you. There's no fact checkers against her. Most people are going to take what she says at face value because you and I both know, Drew, we have a lot of voters in the country. They're nice people, but they historically either vote Democrat or lean Democrat because that's what their friends do. That's what their family has done. Yeah. That's what they grow up understanding. And so you have to pierce this messaging veil that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat Party has been doing for decades in America. Joe Biden does the same mess. You know, he says, oh, we cut insulin prices. People hear that, and they go, well, that's good. Good. You cut insulin prices. But how did you do it? Did you use the power of government? Did you make it unsustainable? Did you raise the price of other pharmaceutical drugs on people that you don't talk about? These are the things that Republicans have to find a way to explain without being, frankly, nerdy economists. And that's no disrespect to nerdy economists. I like those guys. But being nerdy economists so that people get it, understand it, and then start making the appropriate political decisions when they go to the ballot box.
Well, that's interesting you bring that up because how do we do that? Because that isn't something new. I mean, the messaging, the idea of piercing the messaging veil, that isn't something that just popped up this year. It seems like all the time there's always this talk about how do we get through to people and how do we explain, for example, conservative values? How do we explain fiscal responsibility? How do we explain a lot of the different things that are going on? $1 trillion in interest on the debt. How do you explain to people? And is it? Maybe I'll say this. Maybe it's what we together, you and I, have talked about before, which is, unfortunately, it takes a pretty crappy economy and bad times for some people, and especially some Democrats, to wake up and go, hold on, this isn't what I signed up for. And maybe that's where we are. Maybe that's part of the equation, too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yes, that is part of it. And I don't like that part. I wish that, voters would really dig into this stuff because it matters. It really does.
Sure.
But I think, look, two things. One, if you're spending too much time explaining this stuff, you're losing people. You got to be crisp. You got to be direct. You have to actually say specifically what the other side is doing. Like, let's take, immigration. We all know it's a major problem. This is all the fault of Joe Biden, period. He changed all of our border protocols when he became president, period. This is nobody else's fault but him. The Democrats don't want to do anything about it. So when your kid can't play soccer because they put migrants on the soccer field, that is the fault of the Democrat Party. That's the message. It's quick. It's to the point.
Right, but when
you don't equivocate.
But when you say that, what ends up happening. Like KJP yesterday, when asked about the border and the pivot Kamala Harris and what the job that she's doing as borders are, which is hysterical, and what's going on along the border and the numbers, she pivots to, well, you Republicans in the House, you voted against sending 2,000 more people to help there along the border. You're the problem. You're the sticking point. And that's what they hear. And so now you have to combat that.
Of course you do. But look, nobody said it's easy, Drew.
Yep.
You have to constantly be pushing forward the message about what we're doing, which is why I think some of the frustration for Republican voters is, well, what are House Republicans doing? What are Senate Republicans doing? Why aren't you talking about these things? And one of my frustrations in Congress has been the way historically we talk about these issues is you talk to the press corps on Capitol Hill. The press corps on Capitol Hill does not report what the members are actually saying. They report the one sentence they want to report in their articles. So that's why, in some respects, social media is important. Yeah. Being able to go directly to voters is important. Actual operations on the ground, that is important. That stuff matters. And so you have to constantly be pushing the envelope, constantly be messaging, constantly be making your point, so that when people decide to make a political decision, they're not doing it in a vacuum. What President Trump has started in our party is not so much dealing with the press. It's talking over the press. It's going directly to people. That's how you're going to win the day going forward in politics in America.
Yeah.
Well, look, I totally agree with that because most people remember the country before COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody remember the Marvel movies when, Thanos, made half of the universe vanish and they came back 5 years later. They called it the blip. People remember life before COVID. They really do. And so you got to make sure that every message point talks about where America was before COVID-19 and what has happened since Joe Biden's been president. It has been an abject disaster on every level. That's why I call him the master of disaster, Drew, because he's terrible at this. Yeah. Joe Biden has been a disaster. And this radical progressivism, Marxism that the Democrats are really pushing just doesn't work. It's never worked.
Right. But
we basically have had a test tube of this for the last couple of years, and we're definitely seeing how terrible this is for the country.
Yeah. I owe Jake $1. He said you would mention a Marvel movie in our conversation. I had no idea you were going there. That was good. That was very good. All right, here's your buck. Okay, anyway. Congressman Byron Donald is joining us. That was a joke on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News. Thanks. Never mind. Anyway, hey, speaking of universities, you mentioned universities. I want to get your take on what happened with the Harvard president and the resignation of Claudine Gay finally, especially when you have certain individuals that are trying to protect her, like CNN. I don't know if you heard this clip. I just have to play this. It's like 10 seconds long, but it was an analyst trying to explain that she didn't really do anything wrong. The idea of plagiarism, that didn't really happen. I don't know if you've heard this, but here, listen to this.
We should note that Claudine Gay has not been accused of stealing anyone's ideas in any of her writings. She's been accused of more like copying other people's writings without attribution. So it's been more sloppy.
So she was just copying other people's ideas without attribution. That is plagiarism.
Is that serious?
No, all right, let me play the whole thing. Yes, this was on CNN the other day when this happened. It's too good not to play again. Listen to this. I'm not joking. Listen.
These plagiarism allegations where Claudine Gay has had to issue corrections, multiple corrections. Now, we should note that Claudine Gay has not been accused of stealing anyone's ideas in any of her writings. She's been accused of more like copying other people's writings without attribution. So it's been...
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
Well, look, in the real world, not CNN, we call that plagiarism. That is cheating.
Yeah.
Kids get Fs in school for doing that. And if they, depending on the code of conduct and how often they do it, they get expelled from the school. Claudine Gay is not special. She's not. I'm sorry. And look, the problem is that you have the DEI culture that is invested into the promotion of Claudine Gay. I don't know the lady. I don't know. She's probably a nice lady on the face. But she did a wrong thing. She was plagiarizing and taking other people's work. The proof is all over the place now. And the only reason why this lasted this long is because you have this this regime of diversity, equity, and inclusion that would say that if you got rid of her, you were a racist. Meanwhile, as I understand it, Stanford's former president had to resign for a similar thing.
Yeah.
That person was not a black female. So this is what happens when you plagiarize. College presidents have been fired or been removed for revelations of plagiarism in their work. Like, this is not new ground we're breaking. You add this upon her, what she did in front of that congressional committee last year or late last year. I mean, that's all you need. At least UPenn did the right thing quick.
Right. Yeah, but, on the other side of that, you mentioned the DEI and people talking about making it all about race, and the reason why she was fired was because of race. Well, some people would say it was DEI that got her hired to begin with because of her race. That's a problem as well. I mean, where's the merit?
DEI definitely got her hired.
Right.
That's how she got in her position. Let's just be honest about it.
Right.
And I think, look, the DEI people, they make their money off of this stuff. So, Drew, typically when people make their money off of a thing, they promote it a lot.
Yeah.
And so as much as, the radical liberals want to talk about corporate America and rich people and blah, 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 these DEI groups are making money hand over fist. You guys should see some of the contracts that these DEI groups get to bringing their diversity, equity, and inclusion seminars to companies and the colleges. It is outrageous what they charge. They're getting rich too.
Yeah.
And so all they're doing is promoting the thing that makes them money.
Yeah. All right, Congressman Byron Donald is joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. All right, my friend, I'll see you soon. All the best.
See you, Drew.
I can see it. There he goes.